Today we'll be making the top left square of your quilt. For this square you'll need two 6.5-inch blocks of fabric C, you'll need four 3.5-inch blocks of fabric D, and you'll need four 3.5-inch blocks of fabric E. Now, as a quick note, I'm using, you can see here, they're both the same color, but they have a different print. This is often called a scrappy quilt. It's when you use many different fabrics. So these are just from my own stash, and I didn't have enough of this one, so I added in some of this. Since you likely bought fabrics for this quilt, you should have enough of one, but feel free to mix them up if you'd like a little more variety. Start by sewing each blue square to each red square. So each fabric D to each fabric E. Press all your seams toward the same side and then pair these, making sure that they're diagonal from each other. Be sure that you lock your seam before you sew. Now that you've completed your two squares, you'll want to add in your fabric C. The square will have a patch in the upper left and the lower right, and then a solid square and a solid square. Now at this point it's your turn to decide how you want these squares to look. You could line them like this, having a stripe of blue. You could line them like this, having a stripe of red. It's completely up to you. You could also do one a certain one way and one the other way, perhaps like this. It's completely up to you. So go ahead and sew those together, one solid square to one patch square. Be sure that you've pressed your seam towards your large solid color fabric. And for your final step, you'll lock your seams. Now, if you've pressed correctly, you'll have a seam to lock here, and then these ones will go here and here. So go ahead and pin and sew. And your block is complete. Before you go, this quilt tutorial we just did is the very same one you'll use for the right center block. You can see here you'll have your patch of 3.5-inch squares, another patch of 3.5-inch squares, and your two solid 6-inch squares. The only difference this time is because the colors are the same, you'll end up with a diagonal line. So as you can see, even though we're using the exact same pattern, it looks different than this one. So I want you to go ahead and rewatch this video and see if you can put this square together on your own.